So Trigun Stampede is out. From Studio Orange, the studio known for making Land of the Lustrous and Beastars, Trigun Stampede is basically a modernized retelling of the original Trigun anime or manga that most people will have read or know of at the very least. Studio Orange is tasked with remaking an anime that broke boundaries for English dubs, broke boundaries for anime and their potential in the West, and of course, for their avant-garde sci-fi Western storytelling. Needless to say, they don't have an easy task, and before it even launched, people were extremely mad about Trigun Stampede because it was all CGI. So let's go ahead and dive into episode 1 and let's talk about the controversy, let's talk about and break down the characters and the first episode and discuss, is this really any sort of a problem? Spoiler alert, no! Also, as you can tell, I'm pretty sick, so thumbs up the video and comment below what are your thoughts on Trigun Stampede. It'll help me feel a lot better. So first of all, I love the cinematic, almost Star Wars-esque presentation of this first episode. No spoilers, but the first scene in this episode, this doesn't happen at this moment in the original. This moment happens like near the end of the series. So already there's a lot of things they're changing with this story that I think are actually for the better, because I think this, while is a pretty good twist in the original, is actually probably with the story that they're going to tell much better here and probably makes more sense in terms of pacing to have it right up front. Gotta say, first of all, Vash and Knives look so freaking cool in this anime. Also seeing the pods and that kind of detail of the siege ships is absolutely incredible. I never thought in a million years I would be seeing that much detail on something from Trigun, because I mean, Trigun is anime from the late 90s. It doesn't exactly hold up in terms of animation these days. Rim though, oh my god, she is an absolute beauty. She's a total baddie in this anime. Like, oh my god. That's the thing with Studio Orange, is they have a lot of really good character models. And watching Beastars, you know, like seeing their character designs, I'm like, what's gonna happen when they actually animate anime girls that aren't rabbits? Like, that's gonna be really freaking, well, pleasant. And pleasant it was. Rim and like absolute total awesome design. So is Knives and Vash. I think those two designs as well are just, I don't know why people are complaining about the Vash redesign at all. I think he looks great. I think a lot of people are looking at it and a lot of people are saying, oh, this is for like the Zoomers. Now Vash listens to Fortnite. Like, get over it, man. It's a good design. Like, there's nothing bad about this design, like, at all. In fact, I think it's already just as good as the original, but in different ways. I think Vash, the new Vash design is pretty cool, but I think it's very flashy and I think it's very, very flamboyant and very just freaking cool to look at. Whereas with the original, I think with the original Vash, it was all about, man, he just looked like a freaking badass from like the old westerns that you would see. That's a different kind of energy with the Vash that's being presented in this new one. That's more very cinematic, more flamboyant, and I'm totally down with that because we're seeing Trigun in a way that we've never seen it before. For example, I love when at the end of this first scene, the pod is escaping the failing ships, and that was just so done so really well because you see them escape and go into orbit, and they're like, the pod is like dragging on the ship and stuff, and it's like we're seeing camera angles and movements that we're never seeing ever in anime. Like, the stuff that we saw in this episode in almost every scene probably has never been done before, technically speaking, on this kind of detail ever before. And that is the great thing about CGI animation and the way that Studio Orange does their CGI. They're very, very detailed, immersive, and artistic. They try their best to not just make a CGI anime to cut costs. They make CGI anime because they see the potential in where it will go. We're already seeing a lot of this level of detail and just the natural life on this planet, and how the July government is now looking for a new most wanted, which of course is Vash the Stampede, the human typhoon. And then we get introduced to a new character, which to say is controversial is probably an understatement. We get to introduced to Roberto, whose full name is actually, and I swear to God, Roberto De Niro. He's this drunk, he smokes a lot, he's hanging out with Meryl as Meryl is driving, and we get introduced to Meryl Meryl Streep, who is a little bit different from the original. Meryl Streep in this anime is a reporter, and she wants to be like one of the best, sort of like Piper from Fallout 4 or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. So in this original anime, for those people unaware, she was a part of the Bernardellian insurance agency, society, something like that, company. But in this anime, that seems to not exist anymore. Instead, she is actually just a reporter of some kind. I think this change actually is better for their characters, because a lot of people like to forget, but Meryl and Tall Girl, Millie, from the original, while beloved and amazing characters, weren't exactly what you were watching Trigun for. A lot of people had complaints with those characters because, well, they weren't all too important, and while their story was nice and made a lot of sense, there were some things about it that didn't. For example, their original roles of being in this insurance agent thing, that it was under constant scrutiny in the original, that people were like, well, they're really bad at doing their jobs. They're just like hanging out with Vash, and they don't see him as like the bad guy at all. It's like at this point, at some point in the series, you're like, Meryl, he's Vash. His name is Vash. Danger follows you everywhere. How are you still not seeing that this is Vash? Like, she was continuing to deny it. But this change is so much better because she's not denying it necessarily. She's open to it, but she wants to see what Vash is all about. Also, just in general, Meryl in this first episode, I love this take of her. She's absolutely adorable. And I usually don't like simp over my women in anime that much, but I kind of can't help it with this because I think Meryl is just, she's absolutely adorable in this. I like how she immediately believes that people like Vash doesn't exist. She has such an open mind for it that she can't process that somebody is completely evil, which is actually very true, and that's very wise and mature of Meryl to feel that way. She's a good reporter, already a very good reporter. I love as well when Roberto stops, she bumps into Roberto and she just goes, "Senpai." So good, so good. That's so great. Not my impression, but that scene was great. So in very much Trigun fashion, they stumble upon Vash in the most Trigun, one of the most Trigun scenes that I've probably ever seen in an anime. And this is what makes me so hopeful for the future of Trigun Stampede, is that this introduction literally felt like something you would see in Trigun. He's like they just randomly stumble upon Vash. He's hanging upside down. There's a bunch of cave bats out in the middle of nowhere for some reason, and they decide to fly in front of the camera, and Vash just starts maniacally laughing because he's a total freaking goober. Yeah, no, this is Vash right here. This is a 100% really honestly almost one-to-one presentation of Vash from the original anime series, which I absolutely think is undeniable. I think pretty much anybody who says otherwise and says this anime is still some sort of excellent level of trash, you're delusional. So they go to Genora Rock, or Generio Rock. You get the point. They go to a bar and they run into, at first I was like, is that Millie? Is Millie living her best life as a bartender? But it's not Millie, once again. But this bartender knows Vash, and I love the voice acting. She just goes, Vashu. So good. So absolutely good. Of course, I'm going to be watching this dubbed as well because Johnny Young Bosch is confirmed to be playing Vash. So you boys here. But it's revealed that Vash pretty much saved everybody in the town in Genoria Rock. But their water plant was basically destroyed, so all of their glasses are dirty. And so they go to one of these plants, and there we learn that there are these biological generators that produce basically everything that humanity needs, and part of the tech is actually lost in the spacefaring age of humanity. So immediately already, this is a sci-fi Western. In the original anime, they didn't tell you it was a sci-fi Western until like episode 20 or something like that, which was one of the cool things about the original Trigun anime, is that it just had this crazy awesome twist where you were like, I thought I was experiencing a Western that was just kind of goofy. No, I'm actually experiencing a space Western. That's just really freaking awesome to me. I absolutely love that. But I think I like this approach even more because immediately you can already explore more than you did in the original anime. I'll try to describe it like this. Your potential in the original Trigun anime is revealing that you're a sci-fi Western, right? That's the big thing. So you can't really go and delve into sci-fi Western themes when the point is to reveal that you are in space, right? But if we establish this from the very beginning, now we can dive into sort of the technologies and all of that stuff and not sort of keep it vague, but actually dive into it. And that's, once again, why I think that is perfect for this show, at least for this iteration. I still like the way the original did it, but I think this is actually better in terms of pacing. But the plant is dying, and just as they establish this, July police arrive. They have found Vash, they have tracked him down, and it just so happens that the plant replacement that they need costs around $6 million double dollars, which is just about what Vash is worth, I think. But you can see, I love this. Once again, the CGI is amazing. You can see how the gears in Rose's head, the bartender, are turning and how she's trying to think about this situation. Do I turn in Vash? Do I let them do whatever? While they don't really explore it that much in this episode, I still think that's just a really cool thing to show. So Roberto De Niro, I'm never going to get used to that. His mustache is amazing though. But he offers them to duel, pretty much, Vash and the July military police officer, whatever his name is. So the duel begins with a cluster bomb from the July military guy, and just as Vash is like, oh, I can deal with this, I'll just like shoot them with my gun. He goes to shoot and he's like, I don't have my gun, my bullets, because Rosa took them. So there's this whole thing where Meryl basically throws one of the 22 rounds to Vash, and Vash saves the day by throwing a rock and shooting it, exploding it into debris, and basically hitting all of the cluster bombs and making them explode in the sky before they can actually land and do anything. Then after that, which I find even more interesting in my opinion, Roberto, after they get out of trouble and all this stuff, Roberto pegs that Vash is actually afraid of something, and Vash reveals that that something is his brother, Million's Knives. That's right, Knives is back. I know we saw him in the very beginning, but I want to say it here because I love Knives. Knives is actually the one who killed Rim and all of these seed ships, because Knives actually wants to kill every single human. He wants them all to suffer and die. That's his main goal. He's like some Kirei Kotomine stuff from like Fate Night that you would see. And I think Knives as well watched a lot of Eva because we see him with his piano playing. So that reminded me a lot of Evangelion, the newer films. So basically Vash wants to track down Knives and stop his brother. All of this first episode, in terms of like the big stuff with Knives, Rim, and Vash, and the seed ships, all of this stuff happens near the end of the original anime. So now that they're establishing all of this stuff in this new anime, I'm already thinking that, and just in terms of a viewing experience, just in terms of pacing, I think we're still going to hold the original as legendary as it should be, but we're going to probably in time, if, you know, this is an actual good anime from beginning to end, we're probably going to say this one is better because I already love the changes that they have in this anime. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you like or hate the new Trigun Stampede anime? Do you think CGI is bad? Let me know in the comments below. On the left is my original analysis of the last episode of the original Trigun, and on the right is my video on Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 1. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.